Every song on this list went #1. Every group smiled for the cameras, every artist thanked the fans, and every single record you're about to hear became the soundtrack to somebody's prom, somebody's wedding, somebody's road trip with the windows down. But behind 10 of the biggest R&B hits between 2000 and 2007, there was a secret falling apart in real time. A relationship ending, a federal investigation starting, a car crash, a betrayal, or a family quietly breaking in half while the song climbed the charts. This is R&B Hives, and today, we're going back to the golden run of 2000s R&B. 10 massive hits, 10 real artists, and the true stories the radio never told you. The ones hiding in plain sight behind every single one of these records. Stay to the end, because #1 isn't just the biggest hit on this list. It's the one where the betrayal happened on the actual song. Number 10, Destiny's Child, Say My Name, 2000. When Say My Name hit #1 in early 2000, something was already deeply wrong, and fans had no idea. The song dropped as the lead single from The Writings on the Wall, but by the time the music video premiered, 2 of the 4 women who actually sang on the record were gone, quietly replaced on screen by 2 new faces lip-syncing parts that weren't theirs. Latavia Roberson and LaToya Luckett had been founding members of Destiny's Child since childhood, and their split from the group came down to a fight over management, specifically their discomfort with Beyoncé's father, Matthew Knowles, controlling every business decision for all 4 members. The 2 women say they found out they'd been replaced the same way the entire world did, watching the Say My Name video on television, seeing Michelle Williams and Farrah Franklin mouthing words they had recorded, with 0 warning beforehand. A bitter lawsuit followed, years of silence between former best friends followed, and the song that made Destiny's Child global superstars is the exact song that erased 2 of the people who built that sound from the inside. Today, the song is a karaoke classic and a girl power anthem, but every time that chorus hits, it's quietly commemorating one of the coldest lineup exits in R&B history. Number 9, 112, Peaches and Cream, 2001. Peaches and Cream gave 112 their biggest crossover smash, a Grammy nomination, and a song so big, it became Bad Boy Records' signature summer anthem of 2001, built off a beat from Diddy and Mario Winans himself. On paper, this should have been the moment 112 became untouchable. Instead, it became the high watermark right before the unraveling. The group had already spent years watching Diddy's attention split between dozens of other acts on the label, and even at their commercial peak, members of 112 felt like an afterthought inside their own house, a hit factory that never got the push or the payout that matched the numbers they were putting up. By 2002, just months after Peaches and Cream peaked, 112 made the call to walk away from Bad Boy Records entirely, citing the label's fading interest in actually developing them. They'd go on to sign with Def Soul and keep charting, but the partnership that built them, the one fans assumed was rock solid because the music sounded so smooth, quietly ended right after their biggest victory. It's one of the cleanest examples in R&B history of a song peaking the exact same year the relationship behind it expired. Number 8, Aaliyah, Rock the Boat, 2001. Rock the Boat is one of the most haunting songs in R&B history, not because of anything in the lyrics, but because of what happened 5 days after the music video wrapped filming in the Bahamas. Aaliyah, 22 years old and on the edge of total global superstardom, boarded a small plane on August 25, 2001, after a long shoot day, heading back to the United States. That plane crashed shortly after takeoff, killing Aaliyah and 8 others on board, and Rock the Boat was released as a single barely a week later, transforming overnight from a sensual summer record into an accidental memorial. The video itself, choreographed on a beach in the Bahamas, is now one of the last pieces of footage the world has of her, and fans have spent over 2 decades parsing every frame of it for meaning that was never originally there. The song hit the charts posthumously, her self-titled album debuted at number 2, and Aaliyah became one of the only artists in modern history whose breakout commercial peak happened entirely after her death. There is no twist of betrayal here, no industry conflict, just the brutal coincidence of timing that turned a flirtatious summer single into one of R&B's most painful what-ifs. Number 7. Mary J. Blige, Family Affair, 2001. Family Affair sounds like a party record, a Dr. Dre production built for the club, and it became Mary J. Blige's first #1 single on the Billboard Hot 100. But the woman delivering those vocals was in the middle of clawing her way out of one of the most documented addiction battles in R&B history. By her own account in countless later interviews, Mary J. Blige had spent most of the 1990s drinking heavily and using drugs to cope with depression and an abusive relationship, to the point where she has openly said she nearly didn't survive that decade. Family Affair arrived right as she was beginning to get sober, and the album it came from, No More Drama, was literally named after the process of trying to walk away from chaos she'd lived in for years. The irony is that the song everyone danced to in 2001 was actually the sound of an artist fighting for her life behind the scenes, choosing recovery while the industry was busy celebrating her as the undisputed queen of hip-hop soul. Mary J. Blige has since become one of music's most public sobriety stories, but in the exact moment Family Affair was topping the charts, that fight was still happening in real time, completely invisible to anyone just hearing the hook on the radio. If you are enjoying this, do well to like, share, and subscribe. Number 6. Ashanti Foolish, 2002. Foolish made Ashanti an overnight phenomenon, debuting at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2002, and making her the first artist in over 3 decades to simultaneously hold the top spot on the singles and albums charts. She was the new queen of Murder Inc. Records, Irv Gotti's powerhouse label, and everything about her launch looked unstoppable. But Murder Inc. was already under serious federal scrutiny. The label was being investigated for alleged ties to convicted drug trafficker Kenneth Supreme McGriff, and that investigation would escalate over the following years into a full money laundering case against Irv Gotti and his brother, a case the label was eventually acquitted of, but one that hung over every artist on the roster, Ashanti included, during the exact years she was supposed to be enjoying her biggest commercial run.
Baby, I don't know why you're treating me so bad.
Her career and the label's legal cloud became permanently linked in the public eye, and by the time the case concluded, the label's momentum and reputation had taken a hit that Foolish itself never could have predicted. The song was a flawless hit. The company releasing it was being built on ground that was already cracking underneath her. Number 5. Brandy Full Moon, 2002. Full Moon gave Brandy one of the most vocally ambitious songs of her career, a record that fans and critics still point to as proof of how technically gifted she was as a singer. It arrived at a moment when Brandy was being positioned, fairly or not, as the heir apparent to Whitney Houston, a comparison that came with enormous pressure attached. Behind that pressure was a personal life moving faster than the public could track. Brandy had become pregnant with her daughter Cirai during a relationship with music producer Robert Big Bert Smith that she kept almost entirely private, choosing not to publicly confirm details about the relationship, even as tabloids speculated relentlessly, all while she was simultaneously expected to promote Full Moon as a polished, controlled pop star. The album underperformed compared to her earlier work, something Brandy has since connected to the label, not knowing how to market an artist who was becoming a mother while still being sold as a teen idol's adult evolution. Full Moon remains one of her most respected vocal performances, but it dropped into a career moment where her real life and her industry image were pulling in 2 completely different directions. Number 4, Beyoncé, Crazy in Love, 2003.
pride is the one to blame. Yeah, 'cause I know I don't.
Crazy in Love announced Beyoncé as a solo superstar separate from Destiny's Child, and it did it by pairing her with Jay-Z on a song that, in hindsight, was the first public breadcrumb of a relationship the two of them spent years refusing to confirm. The track exploded, hit number 1, and instantly became one of the defining songs of the decade. What almost nobody clocked at the time was that this was happening while Destiny's Child itself was on an official hiatus, with all 3 members, Beyoncé, Kelly Rowland, and Michelle Williams, simultaneously launching solo careers and quietly testing whether the group could survive members becoming individually massive. Beyoncé's solo success with Crazy in Love was so overwhelming that it raised real questions about whether Destiny's Child would ever fully reunite as equals again. She and Jay-Z would not confirm their relationship publicly for years afterward, even as fans dissected every lyric and music video cue for proof. And meanwhile, the group that built her platform was navigating the awkward reality of one member's solo career, dwarfing the trio's combined output. Crazy in Love is remembered as a triumphant debut. It was also the moment the math on Destiny's Child quietly, permanently changed. Number 3. Usher, Confessions Part 2, 2004.
Every time you called, I told you, baby, I'm working.
Confessions Part 2 became one of the most personal hits of Usher's career, a song where he sings directly about getting another woman pregnant while in a committed relationship, and fans immediately treated it as autobiography rather than fiction. They weren't wrong to.
I had to do, got me talking to myself, asking how I'm gonna tell you.
At the time the Confessions album was recorded, Usher was in a long-term relationship with Chili of TLC, a relationship that ended during this period, and Usher has confirmed in later interviews that the album drew directly from real events in his life, including a paternity situation involving a woman named Talisa Reed that became tabloid fodder right as the album was breaking sales records. The album went on to sell over 1 million copies in its first week alone, one of the biggest opening weeks in music history.
Talk to him, my dirt. Wasn't thinking about you getting hurt. Was hand in hand.
The blurring of fiction and real confession is exactly what made the album a phenomenon, fans speculating in real time about which lyrics were literal truth, while Usher's actual personal life was unraveling under that same scrutiny. Confessions Part 2 became one of his signature records, specifically because the audience suspected, correctly, that they were hearing a man's real life play out set to a beat. Number 2, Amory, One Thing, 2005. One Thing is one of the most sampled, most influential drum breaks of the entire 2000s, built around a chopped meters sample that producer Rich Harrison crafted into one of the decade's most distinctive grooves. It made Amory a critical favorite and a commercial hit, peaking inside the Billboard Top 10 and earning a Grammy nomination. But 2 years later, in 2007, Amory was involved in a serious car accident that nearly ended her career altogether, sustaining injuries severe enough that she required months of recovery and largely disappeared from the public eye at what should have been the height of her momentum from One Thing and the records that followed it. She has spoken since about how that period forced a complete reset of her career trajectory, derailing follow-up momentum that the success of One Thing had set up. The song itself remains untouchable, sampled and referenced by artists across multiple genres for 2 decades since. But the artist behind it spent the years right after that hit literally fighting to physically recover, a story that almost never makes it into the conversation when people talk about how good that beat is. Number 1, Cassie, Me and You, 2006. Me and You turned Cassie into an overnight sensation in 2006. A stripped-down, minimal production hit that climbed all the way to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, off the strength of a song built entirely by producer Ryan Leslie, who discovered her, signed her to his own label, and wrote and produced her breakout single from scratch. Here's the part that makes this number 1 on this list. Cassie was in a real relationship with Ryan Leslie, while Me and You was breaking, the same song he built her entire star image around, and it was that exact song that caught the attention of Diddy, who heard it in a club and began pursuing Cassie both professionally and personally. Cassie has since testified under oath that she began a romantic relationship with Diddy in 2007 while still involved with Leslie, telling him a trip to meet Diddy was a work event to avoid suspicion.
Baby, tell me if you like it. Tell me if you like it.
Leslie has publicly described being blindsided by the relationship he discovered only after the fact. Watching the woman whose career he built and the song he personally wrote become the entry point for a different, far more powerful man to take over both her music and her life. Diddy's joint venture between his label and Leslie's folded Cassie into Bad Boy Records, and her solo career, by her own later account, ended up creatively stalled for years under that new arrangement.
It's me and you now. I've been waiting.
Me and You is still one of the cleanest, catchiest records of the mid-2000s. It is also the song that quietly ended one relationship and began another one that would define, and by Cassie's own account in recent years, derail, the next decade of her life.